Hey guys, I'm out here on a mountain bike ride, one of my favorite rides in town. Enjoying the beautiful day that I was given, and I feel drawn today to just keep reiterating some stuff that I've already talked about in the past. But uh, yeah, I just want to hit the nail on the head. And what is health, and how do we maintain health? How do we get that in our life? How do we get freedom in our life, right? So when we look at health, we can look at a bunch of different things. The alkalinity of our blood being the causative factor of most causes of illness. When we eat too much acidic forming foods, what happens is that causes too much mucus production in the body, which then stops the cells from being able to get oxygen and nutrients into them because of this layer, this thick, viscous material that's, it's very, if you've ever been sick, which I'm sure you have, when you're expelling a lot of mucus, you could imagine if that were blocking your cells, you're not going to be able to breathe. When you're sick, you can't breathe because there's so much mucus in your nasal cavities that you literally can't get air past that blockage, right? So when we start to constrict our bodies with too much acidity and too little oxygen, too much mucus in the body, then our cells start to shut down, especially if we're doing that for prolonged periods. And you add in different factors such as dehydration, environmental, pollutants, toxins, and stress from emotions and whatever else is going on, right? So when we factor that in, that is going to play a huge overall role in why people have a lack of energy and a lack of ability to get nutrients in the cell. You might be eating a lot of food, but if you're eating nutritionally dead food and your cells are blocked, you're not going to be able to get any of that nutrition into the cell, which is needed to build, right, and to repair. So when we start to look at that, when I look at health, my theory on it, after doing quite a bit of research into it, is that the more toxins we put in our body, the more they accumulate, and the more that's going to lead to overall illness. If we can start to take out toxins from our body, we have to think there's trillions of cells in our body that all defecate, they all have the need to get rid of waste. And if we're not clearing our lymphatic system, which people are chronically backed up lymphatically, then we're not getting rid of that waste. And we sit in that waste, that's going to affect our blood, that's going to affect how we feel, how we think, every part of our being, right? So as we start to get rid of toxins, as we start to detoxify our body, then we start to cleanse our body's natural pathways to have more electric conductivity in our body. We're electromagnetic beings. So the more electricity that I can produce and hold in my body without short circuiting, right? Because there at times you could literally have too much amplitude of energy too quickly, and that could fry your circuits. So you don't want to overdo it. We want to work our way into that process by slowly starting to get rid of those toxins, which enable our body to handle more oxygen and eventually more energy or more conductivity as we start to cleanse our system, right? And that means, it's a really interesting concept. I was just having this conversation with some buddies last night where all dis-ease would start on an emotional level, right? If you feel bad about yourself or something in your life, then you might look towards like fast food or foods you shouldn't be eating as an escape, as a form of like feeling better, right? But that ultimately is going to lead to what? Dis-ease in the body. So it started from an emotional component. If you felt good about yourself and where you were in life, and you knew who you were, and that you were a source, connected to source, a part of God, manifested, you wouldn't be treating yourself poorly. You would put the best fuel possible in your body. You treat your body as a temple, because it is. And when you start to treat your body as a temple, we're antennas that can connect to higher consciousness, or to God or source, whatever you want to call it, when we're tapped in. But most people are so blocked energetically because of emotional baggage, stress, and trauma that has happened in the past, as well as physically full of poop that is blocking their ability to channel the energy to higher centers. So when you start to cleanse your body, that is really when your spirituality will start to progress more, and you'll start to unlock like different, abilities, I would say, because you're more tapped in. We all have the ability, but when you're super toxified, you haven't ever detoxified, you've never done a parasite detox or a colon cleanse, and you're 20 or 30 years old, you have fucking big parasites inside of your body, right, that are harvesting energy. They're demonic entities that are physically taking the energy from you. So when they're affecting the way that you think, who you want to mate with, like the decisions you're physically making on a day-to-day basis are affected by these entities. So when you start to realize, okay, well, what foods produce those in the body, i.e. rotting animal flesh and mucus forming foods, and how do I rid my body of these things, right, i.e. herbs, or fasting protocols. You can do colonics. There's a bunch of different things that you can use to your advantage. But when you start to change your vibrational state, the state of your body, and make it less hospitable for these parasites, then they don't want to be there. But when you're making it home for them and making it really comfy, and you're rolling out a bed for them, and you're like, hey, come stay with me, because I'm providing you the perfect environment for you to thrive in, and not doing anything to try and rid myself of these entities, then what's going to happen is you're going to have a perfect environment to host and to thrive, and for those to continue to harvest your energy, essentially, right? So we need to start realizing our medical system has not given us the answers that we're looking for. People are looking for a pill that fixes everything, and that's never going to happen, because the root cause of all disease is the lifestyle choices that we're making. You are what you eat. You are the food that you consume. You are the thoughts that you think, and the emotions that you feel, and the music that you listen to is all an expression of yourself, right? That is all your diet. So if you are filling yourself with shit and fake, cheap, processed garbage, which 90% of this stuff that they're putting out there is, then you're fake, cheap, and processed. That's why the world is in the shape that it's in, right? So if we want to start being more whole and more authentic and more organic, then we need to start eating that. We need to start doing that, because that is what we're going to be in our being by what we eat, because that is forming the cells in our body. So we need to start treating our bodies better. And when we can do that, I think ultimately we'll see a big change in our society. Give me 1 second here, I got a biker passing.